Hello, I'm Dr. Chitty and welcome to Lifecolours. Today we're going to be looking at the blue life colour, which is obesity. This is a problem that is rapidly expanding all over the world. Obesity, or the blue life colour, is affecting the entire globe now. We know that Western culture is moving all over the world. Western cars, films, style, fashion. But one thing that is not so welcome around the world is the Western diet. The Western diet that is full of fat, sugar, salt, and high levels of animal protein, but very low in nutrients and fiber. This is leading to the epidemic now that is so high that in the last 5 years, more people were dying of overeating than undereating. This is the first time in the history of the world. So what makes the Western diet so attractive and so addictive? That's a question that many people ask. Well, the answer can be found in the animal kingdom. Did you know that a shark can smell one drop of blood up to 1 kilometre away? That is because it seeks pleasure, seeks to avoid pain, and wants to save energy. This is part of the motivational triad that belongs to all of the animal kingdom, us included. You see, a shark knows that a wounded fish is easier to catch than an able-bodied fish. So it has its sense of smell acutely attuned to blood. And we are very much like sharks. We obey the motivational triad too. We seek pleasure. And everybody knows that sugary foods stimulates the pleasure centers in our brains. We always want to avoid pain, and having low blood sugar, that doesn't feel good to our body, so we always are seeking to replenish that sugar by eating. And obviously, we all want to save energy. And the quickest way to save energy is to eat foods that are energy rich. And those foods contain lots of fat and lots of sugar. Sugar actually stimulates the same neurological pathways as heroin. Have you ever wondered why sugar's so addictive? Sugar also raises your insulin levels. We found that out in diabetes. And when insulin is raised, we tend to gain more weight. Insulin doesn't just deal with sugar, it helps us to store and synthesize more fat. So if you're trying to lose weight and you're eating sugary things, your insulin levels will rise and you will hold on to that fat. It will make it incredibly difficult to lose it. It also increases your risk of cancer. Insulin wants to make things grow, so if you have any cancerous cells in your body, insulin will stimulate the growth of cancer cells. Now, an experiment was done several years ago, which took several rats and gave them as much sugar as they wanted to eat, and took another group of rats and gave them as much fat as they wanted to eat. Both sets of rats were able to eat and stop eating quite comfortably. However, when they mixed the proportions of sugar and fat together, so that there was a 50-50 ratio, the fats were unable to control their eating. So they ate and became incredibly obese. Now, unfortunately, that combination is found in all of our cakes and biscuits and ice creams and chocolates. If you're like me, you'll know that if you eat one chocolate, it's difficult to stop. If you have one biscuit, equally difficult to stop. And that's because it has that 50-50 ratio of fat to sugar. The best way to overcome this addiction to sugar is to use the Dr. Chitty method. The Dr. Chitty method says, when you see that biscuit or see that cake, rather than say to yourself, I can't have the biscuit or I can't have the cake, you say, I will have the biscuit or cake. The reason why you must say that is because when you refuse yourself something, you desire it even more. So you should say to yourself, I will have the biscuit, but I'll have it in half an hour. Whilst you say that, you eat yourself an apple. The glucose in the blood sugar will be released into your bloodstream slowly, and within half an hour, your blood sugar levels will be sufficiently high to enable you to overcome the desire for the biscuit. So we call that the choose to have it, but delay it mechanism. The choose to have it, but delay it method. That's why we call it the Chitty method. Now, sometimes, even with the Dr. Chitty method, you're still going to want to eat the cake or the biscuit. What can we do about that? Well, let me ask you this question. If I asked you to eat 4 apples in 2 minutes, do you think you could do it? If you could do it, would you rather have a Golden Delicious apple or a Granny Smith apple? If you're like me and most of the world, it's easier to eat Golden Delicious apples. And why is that? Because they are sweeter and they're less sour. The Granny Smith's apples are very sour. And we found that the sour taste is able to inhibit your appetite. Also, if I gave you a large bar of chocolate to eat, do you think you could eat more milk chocolate or dark chocolate? Most people can eat more milk chocolate because it's sweeter. The bitter taste also from dark chocolate is able to inhibit your appetite. So what we find is that bitter is better and sour has power. Anytime you find yourself eating too much sugary things, at least try and add something that's bitter or something that is sour. That will enable you to control your appetite. And remember, if you're on this pathway for long enough, avoiding the sugary things, your taste will actually change. Your taste buds get used to less sugar and less fat in the diet, and you tend to crave them less. Believe me, I've tried it. In England, there's a TV show called Secret Eaters, which I enjoy. It takes an overweight person who doesn't understand why they're overweight, but it secretly films them in their home and at work. So at the beginning of the show, they'll say, well, you know, I'm 30 stone, but I just don't know how I'm putting on weight. I eat so well and I exercise. But little do they know that they've been filmed the previous week. I saw a man who had eaten about 4,000 calories before 11 o'clock in the morning. He also said, yeah, I don't eat much at all. Often we fool ourselves into how much we eat, in the same way that many alcoholics fool themselves into how much alcohol they drink. Obesity is actually very simple. It obeys the first law of thermodynamics, which says matter or energy cannot be created or destroyed. In other words, you cannot put fat on unless you've taken it in. It's a simple case of we gain weight by eating more energy than we burn up. And many people ask me, you know, how can this be? I've eaten the same all my years, even since I was a teenager. Well, you know, as we get older, we tend to be less active. I remember when I first qualified as a doctor, I was running about the hospital every day. I would do about 10 to 20 kilometers every day. And that's not just walking, you're sort of semi-running. So I was burning up so many calories. But as you rise up the ladder in medicine, somebody gives you an office and you have people running about for you. I'm burning up less calories. If I ate the same, I would gain an awful lot of weight. And that's what happens with most of us. I call it the problem of the middle years. Not just because the years are in the middle of your life, but actually because in those years your middle tends to expand. We do less exercise, we get our car license, and we tend to drive everywhere and not walk anywhere. All of these things lead to us burning up less calories and doing less exercise. And that expands our middle. So what we really want to know now is, how do we reverse obesity? How do we lose weight? That's going to be the dark blue lifestyle. So when it comes to diet, one of the most important things is to eliminate all sweet drinks. Remove alcohol, sweet drinks, including juices, Stick to just water and perhaps some herbal tea. The more sweet drinks you drink, the more insulin you'll have in your system and the more difficult it will be to lose that fat. If you don't like water, add lemon, lime or mint to it. But for the first few weeks or months, it's essential that you avoid any sweet drink. In terms of food, you have to replace those 50-50 fat and sugar foods like chocolates, biscuits, cakes, and replace them with whole foods, fruit, vegetables, whole grains. I always say there's a hierarchy of fats. You have the monosaturated fats, polysaturated fats, and then you have the trans fats. Now in obesity and health, generally we can get by without any of these obvious fats in our diet. But you really do want to avoid the saturated and the trans fats. Trans fats are the things that keep all those biscuits and cakes fresh on the shelves. I always say that trans fats extend the life of the food, but shorten your life. And it's not a question of starving yourselves. I always believe that diets never work because they end up starving people for the rest of their lives, and people can't do that. With this method, actually you can eat more and weigh less. The more fruit and vegetables you eat, they don't have many calories in them, so you can eat to being full and not put on any weight. What sort of exercises can you do? Well, when it comes to exercise, you have to be FITS, and that stands for frequency, intensity, time, and stretching. You have to put all those four together. When it comes to frequency, every single day you have to exercise. And I recommend that you exercise 60 minutes a day and doing something very gentle like walking. Nothing better than walking to lose weight, but just do it at a reasonably brisk rate. You can't do anything too strenuous. Now, if your blood pressure is okay, you can actually do maybe jogging twice a week. That is okay, but only if your blood pressure is fine. And please make sure you check this out with your doctor. When it comes to time, as I said, just 60 minutes, and make sure that you stretch at least twice a day, especially stretching the limbs and the core. Once you have lost the weight, you go on to the blue lifestyle, which is the prevention of getting the weight back. And the blue lifestyle diet, you continue to limit your drinks, but if you have to have a sweet drink, just have it once or twice a week, and make sure they are blended smoothies rather than just juicing, and definitely not the carton juices. When it comes to the diet, it is the same as the dark blue diet, and your cravings must have reduced by now. Now, if you're going to have a treat, make sure it's a quality treat. Look forward to it, enjoy it, and don't worry about it, and don't feel guilty about it. And exercise, continue to do it 7 times a day. And if your blood pressure is okay, now you can actually step up the exercise to 3 times a week of intensive exercise. Usually when we're obese, our blood pressure is quite high, but now that you've lost the weight, you will find that your blood pressure has come down and you can do more vigorous exercise. But do wait until your blood pressure is down before you start such exercise. Vital in losing weight is to manage stress. It is vital that we get to the root cause of any stresses that are in our lives and we deal with them. When we're stressed, we release so many hormones such as cortisol, and that helps us to retain all the weight that we're trying to lose. And one thing I always say for people who are trying to lose weight, have patience with yourself. Because it's not going to be a quick process. There are some rapid weight loss programs that tend to make you lose weight quickly, but unfortunately you gain the weight back just as quickly. If you want to keep the weight off permanently and with a good healthy lifestyle, you have to be patient, and it can take several months, even up to a year sometimes, to get to the ideal weight. But that's okay, because once the weight has gone, it will go permanently. Also, be patient with other people, because people will be looking at you saying, oh, you're on this new diet and you haven't lost weight, you just be patient with them too. Eventually, you will get there. That brings us to the end of the blue life colour. I hope it's been useful to you. Thank you for joining me on the blue life colour, and I hope it helps you to reverse, improve or prevent obesity. If you need any more information, please see my book, Lifecolours. You can also follow me on Twitter at drchiddy247. Until then, I hope that you live your life with colour.